You send a message. You wait. An hour passes, then 2. You check your phone again, not because you expect anything, you just can't stop yourself. The screen is blank, and something small inside you starts to ache. Not rage, not tears, just this quiet, hollow feeling, like you're standing outside a room where everyone else is warm and the door is locked, and you're not even sure who locked it. That feeling has a name, but most people never find out what's really happening when they feel it. And once you do understand it, you can't look at yourself the same way again. Because being ignored isn't just uncomfortable. It doesn't just sting a little and fade. For a lot of people, being ignored is one of the most destabilizing experiences a human being can go through. And the reason why, when you really understand it, changes everything about the way you see yourself. Let's start somewhere simple. Think about the last time someone left you on red, or didn't acknowledge something you said in a group, or just looked past you like you weren't there. What did you do first? Most people go quiet on the outside. They act like it's fine. They put their phone down, maybe even smile at something else. But inside, the mind starts working overtime, replaying the conversation, looking for what went wrong, wondering if it was something you said, something you are, something you've always been. You try to convince yourself it means nothing, that they're probably just busy, that you're reading too much into it. But the thought keeps coming back. And each time it does, it feels a little heavier. And this is where something interesting starts happening inside the brain. Researchers who study social pain, the psychological pain of exclusion and rejection, have found something remarkable. When a person is ignored, the brain activates the same regions associated with physical pain. Not metaphorically, literally the same neural pathways. A scan of someone being left out looks nearly identical to a scan of someone who just got hurt. So when you say being ignored hurts, you're not being dramatic. You're being accurate. The body registers it the same way it registers a wound. But here's what most people never notice. The pain isn't just about the moment. It's about what the silence means to you. And your brain is working very hard, without your permission, to figure that out. There's a concept in psychology called the need to belong. Psychologists describe it as one of the most fundamental human motivations. Not a want, a need. We aren't built for isolation. For most of human history, being excluded from a group wasn't just emotionally painful. It was dangerous. It could mean you didn't eat. It could mean you didn't survive the winter. So your nervous system learned over thousands of years to treat social rejection as a threat, a real one. When you're ignored, your brain doesn't think this is mildly inconvenient. It thinks something is wrong and I need to fix this. And that's why you can't just let it go, no matter how much you want to. You're sitting somewhere, doing something completely unrelated, watching something or eating, trying to sleep, but a part of your mind keeps drifting back. That unanswered message, that moment in the room when they looked right through you. You draft responses in your head. Imagine what you should have said. Imagine what they might be thinking right now. Picture them seeing your message and choosing not to reply. And then, even when you manage to distract yourself, something small pulls you right back. A song, a notification sound, the time of day, the way the light looks at a certain hour. It's like your brain refuses to close that tab. That's not weakness. That's a nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do. Scanning, searching, trying to restore something that feels broken. But there's something deeper happening underneath all of this. Something most people never trace back far enough to find. If you've ever stayed awake replaying a conversation with someone who probably wasn't replaying it at all, consider subscribing. These are the kinds of conversations most people never get to have. When someone ignores you, what you feel isn't just that this hurts right. What you feel underneath it all is a quiet question you've probably been carrying for a long time. Am I worth paying attention to? And this is the part that matters most, because for many people, being ignored doesn't just feel like rejection from one person in one moment. It feels like confirmation of something they've always quietly feared about themselves, that they're too much or not enough, that they need too much, that they're easy to forget, that when the door closes, no one notices they're gone. And when that fear gets triggered, even by something as small as an unread message, the reaction is never just about the message. It's about every time you felt invisible, every time you spoke and no one turned to look, every time you reached for someone and came back with nothing, every time you sat in a room full of people and still felt completely alone. All of those moments live inside the current one. They always have. The brain stores those experiences, every single one of them, and each new moment of being ignored reaches back and reactivates all of them at once. That's why it can feel so disproportionate. That's why one ignored text can ruin an entire afternoon. That's why a small social slight from someone you barely know can sit with you for days. Psychologists call this emotional memory consolidation. The present moment and the past fuse together without you realizing it. What's happening now now and what happened years ago feel like the same pain, the same weight, the same quiet verdict about who you are. That's why a small act of being ignored can sometimes feel absolutely devastating, far beyond what the situation seems to warrant on the surface. You're not overreacting. You're carrying more than this one moment. You always have been. And here's something that takes a long time to realize and even longer to really believe. The people who hurt the most when ignored are often the people who are most attuned to others, the ones who notice when someone's tone shifts slightly, who remember what you mentioned in passing 3 weeks ago, who walk into a room and immediately sense the emotional temperature, who pick up on subtle things other people miss entirely. That sensitivity, the very thing that makes being ignored feel unbearable, is also the thing that makes you genuinely perceptive, genuinely present, genuinely warm with the people who matter to you. You feel the silence more deeply because you feel everything more deeply. That's not a disorder. That's not something to fix or suppress. That's a form of depth that most people will never fully understand from the inside. But the pain of being ignored teaches something else too, something quieter and harder to sit with. It shows you where you've been placing your sense of worth. When someone's silence can shake your entire day, when one unanswered message makes you question your value, your likability, whether you matter to anyone, it means your self-perception has been resting on someone else's response, on their attention, their approval, their choice to acknowledge you. And that is an incredibly fragile place to live, not because you're weak, but because no one else's attention, no matter how consistent or genuine, can ever fully fill what you're asking it to fill. The validation you're searching for in their reply, that quiet reassurance that you're enough, that you matter, that you're seen, has to start somewhere that silence can't reach. And this is where everything comes back to where we started. You checked your phone. You waited. Maybe they replied. Maybe they didn't. But that ache you felt in the silence, that hollow, restless feeling with no clean edges, that was never really about them. It was a signal, a quiet knock from somewhere deep inside you, asking to be seen, not by them, by you, asking you to stop outsourcing the answer to a question only you can answer for yourself. The people who find their way through this, who slowly stop needing someone else's response to confirm their own worth, they don't become cold. They don't stop caring. They don't become the kind of person who never checks their phone or never feels the sting of being left out. They just stop letting that sting become a verdict. They stop handing their sense of self to people who aren't paying attention. And gradually something shifts. The silence stops feeling like rejection. It stops feeling like proof of something broken inside you. It becomes something you can sit with without falling into it. It becomes just silence. And you're still here, still whole, still worth knowing, regardless of who knows.